Welcome to this cold and snowy winter day here in Cologne, Germany, and we want to do a camera comparison between those two bad boys, the Oppo Find N3 Flip versus the Huawei P50 Pocket. So let's get started. Yeah, it's a really cold day here in Cologne right now. We want to do a camera comparison between those two bad boys, the Oppo Find N3 Flip versus the Huawei P50 Pocket. And my dog Timmy is also with me here right now. This is why the camera is like shaking a little bit because I'm holding him. Timmy, show yourself. There he is. So here you can see the camera specs on screen. The main cameras consisting of 3 camera sensors, which is quite interesting. Yeah, it is so dark here. It's just 4 o'clock and it's here they can, maybe 5 o'clock now, and it's really dark here, even snow coming there. Nevertheless, here you can see the camera specs, triple lens setup. The Oppo Find N3 Flip has a 2x zoom, which is a tele camera, which is quite nice. And of course, we also have inner cameras that I cannot show you right now, but believe me, they're inner camera center punch hole cameras. And I think we check out the video from those first. The selfie cam, the front-facing camera of the Oppo Find N3 Flip, can do 4K 30, so I don't think we have any stabilization. Because it's relatively dark here right now, it turned itself on the screen, so it's illuminating my face a little bit. What do you think about the quality here of the Oppo Find N3 Flip? And yeah, we have lights already in the background, with a bit of HDR maybe there as well, as you can see, because the sun is setting there in the background. So what do you think about the quality here of the Oppo Find N3 Flip front-facing camera? Same situation now with the Huawei P50 Pocket's front-facing camera, 4K 30 frames per second recording. It's also illuminating the screen because it's so dark here. It even started snowing right now. So what do you think about the quality here? Stabilization, colors. Let me turn a little bit around there so you can see a little bit of HDR maybe with the sun setting there. I don't see much of a difference to the Oppo Find N3 Flip. What do you think? Which one has the better camera setup here for the inner front-facing cameras? Now using the main camera of the Oppo Find N3 Flip, which is a very large sensor that they have here for a flip phone at least. What do you think about this dimmed situation? A little bit of snow going on here, and if I turn around a little bit there, you can see maybe in the background a little bit of HDR. What do you think about this one here? I don't see myself here because for some reason Oppo disabled the possibility to have the front screen available in 4K recording. So as soon as I enable the front screen, I only have 1080p recording, which was one of those downsides that I noticed later on in my comparison between those two devices. So if you want to know more about those two devices, not only cameras, all the other things, I did a dedicated video for this one as well. And in this video I did also a short camera test indoors, and yeah, for some reason it was only 1080p that I figured out later, that whenever you turn on the outer display it switches to 1080p, which is like a bit of a bummer because I think it's a missed opportunity, and I don't think it like overheats tremendously when you don't have the outer display activated at 4K. Nevertheless, what do you think about the quality here? We're recording 4K 30 right now because I'm working with the 4K 30 timeline, but I don't think it can record 4K 60 frames per second, at least not on all camera sensors. We want to go to the ultra wide angle right now. So let's go zoom out to this ultra wide angle. In this dim lit situation, I think this is one of the weakest sensors. Nevertheless, what do you think about the quality here of this ultra wide angle? How about stabilization, colors, and so on? What do you think about the ultra wide angle here on the Oppo Find N3 Flip? Of course, we can also do a little bit of a zoom test there. Zoom into the tower there in the background. So let's zoom in. One time it switched lenses, 2 times it should have switched lenses. I'm not sure if it switched lenses. I think it's too dark for it to switch lenses. 10 times maximum zoom, not the greatest. Still flip phones have some issues with zoom camera. So now using the main camera sensor of the P50 Pocket, the cool thing here is I can record 4K 30 and still see myself on this little screen there on the outer display basically, which is quite cool. So I can frame myself quite nicely. I can check out the HDR. I think my face is a little bit dark there, at least on screen. What do you think about this one here? But HDR, I think it's working fine there. We have a bit of a smaller sensor, an older sensor for sure on the P50 Pocket, because it's just like an older device, also older SoC. So does this really work out? Nevertheless, we have 4K recording, even 4K 60 frames per second recording. You can switch between all the lenses at 4K 60, but now I'm recording 4K 30 and I'm switching to the ultra wide angle, also a slider there. Also, the ultra wide angle is one of the weak points here of this device, and yeah, it looks very, very dark there on screen still, and it's getting pretty much very, very dark here. Nevertheless, I can show you a little bit here around. What do you think about stabilization, colors, and so on of the ultra wide angle here? And let's walk to roughly the same position that I was with the, exactly the same position that I was with the Oppo, I think. And then we can check out the zoom, because we don't have a dedicated zoom here on the P50 Pocket. So there we go. Let's zoom in. One time it switched lenses, and the rest is like a crop in. And we can also only go up to 6 times, and it looks even worse than on the Oppo Find N3 Flip. So what do you think about the P50 Pocket here? Let's check out the photos. Oppo Find N3 Flip on the left and the P50 Pocket on the right. I did a comparison already, but I was not showing you the photos here. So let's check them out. Because it was raining outside currently, I only put stuff or photographed stuff inside basically. But what we can see here, this is the main camera sensor that we have here, 24 millimeters and 26 millimeters. So there's a slight difference, but both have f1.8 as aperture and roughly the same ISO and roughly the same shutter speed there, so should be very comparable. But here you can clearly see that the HDR is working a little bit better on the P50 Pocket. Nevertheless, when it comes to sharpness and details, I think the Find N3 Flip offers there a little bit more than the P50 Pocket, even though P50 Pocket is quite capable there as well. So let's take a look at all the details here. You can clearly see it's a bit of like better colors there, maybe more punchy colors on the P50 Pocket, but it's a bit soft, where the Find N3 Flip has a bit more sharpness there for sure. It's raising up the shadows a little bit more, so you can read a little bit more of those bottles here in the background. Let's take a look at another shot. This is a shot with 2 times zoom roughly on both. Both have like the possibility to have a 2 times zoom, and again we have this overexposure slightly on the N3 Flip, where the P50 Pocket doesn't have this, doesn't suffer from this. And here in terms of detail levels, I think I would even say they're on par. It's a little bit softer there on the P50 Pocket, but we have a little bit more noise on the P50 Pocket as well, with on the N3 Flip as well, where the P50 Pocket doesn't have this much noise, which is, I think, quite pleasant there in this regard. Let's take a look at some other details there. Maybe in the background you can see how soft it is here on the P50 Pocket. So maybe the N3 Flip is keeping a little bit more of this sharpness, because it is simply not denoising so heavily as the P50 Pocket is doing in this regard. When it comes to the 10 times zoom, I think it is, no, it's 5 times zoom actually on both roughly. Again, you can clearly see the P50 Pocket has the better exposure, where it's a bit overexposed on the N3 Flip. When it comes to detail level, however, it's basically the Oppo is falling completely apart. The P50 Pocket is holding up a little bit still there, I would say. Maybe it's both are bad in this case. This is like the maximum I would like recommend to doing, and both falling apart. Ultra wide angle also quite interesting, because we have 14 millimeters on the N3 Flip, where the P50 Pocket has 13 millimeters. Both f2.2, both same ISO, and we have a faster shutter speed, however, on the P50 Pocket, which is quite interesting. What we can clearly see is the wider field of view on the P50 Pocket. Also, what we can clearly see is we have a bit of a warmer kind of tint on the N3 Flip. When we go in and check for the quality here, what we can clearly see is that they're on par. There's not much of a difference between, can tell in terms of like sharpness and so on, as you can clearly see. I would even argue that maybe the P50 Pocket is sharpening things up a little bit more than the N3 Flip, but they're basically on par. There's not much of a difference there when it comes to those two in terms of ultra wide angle. And keep in mind, this is like a little bit of a lower light situation, so yeah, it's quite impressive that both are pretty fine doing this shot there. Selfies now with the inner selfie camera, so the one when you have it unfolded. As you can see here, we have both 21 millimeters, which is quite interesting. We have f2.2 on the P50 Pocket, f2.4 on the N3 Flip. ISO is also higher on the N3 Flip, where it's a bit lower on the P50 Pocket, thanks to the larger opening of the aperture. When it comes to details and so on, we have a bit more contrasty look on the N3 Flip, a bit warmer colors on the P50 Pocket, and the details are quite nice there. But you can clearly see it looks like 32 megapixel, of course, is a bit more details that you can see there. But when I zoom out, roughly, let's have them roughly the same. It's like hard to adjust them, but let's have it like this. You can clearly see that we see a bit more details on the P50 Pocket. How is that possible? I think it's doing some reconstruction of my face there to add a little bit more details into my face, where the N3 Flip keeps it a bit softer there for sure. Otherwise, in terms of HDR handling, I think the N3 Flip is a little bit better there, as you can see here in the background there. And noise floor is quite high on the N3 Flip, where the P50 Pocket keeps it low there, but it's like softening things up a little bit there. Close-up shots that you can do are bokeh with the main camera sensor here. Both, as you can see here, with f1.8 and ISO 800 on the P50 Pocket, just 400 on the N3 Flip. We have a slightly higher shutter speed, but basically negligible. It's the same kind of thing there. I can get a bit closer with the fine N3 Flip, which is quite interesting. And in terms of sharpness and detail level, you can clearly see that, yeah, we have more out of focus areas here on the N3 Flip. We have a larger sensor there for sure. Where here, basically, this may be slightly out of focus and this is more in focus, but it's like basically the same. So we have a smaller sensor definitely on the P50 Pocket there for sure. So the N3 Flip is doing a quite better job there. When it comes to out of focus area, however, as well, you can clearly see the fine N3 Flip has the same kind of more blurry background than the P50 Pocket. It's very close, but the fine N3 Flip, thanks to its larger sensor, is winning here for sure. Then some portrait shots taken with 2x portrait on both. Quite interesting is that when you take the portrait shots here, first of all, the Oppo decided ISO 250 is okay, where the P50 Pocket went to ISO 500. Both roughly at the ballpark of 1/60th or 1/50th of a second of shutter speed, which makes sense for portrait shots when the subject is not still. Interesting is that the portrait shot is just 8 megapixels on the fine N3 Flip, which is quite bizarre, where the P50 Pocket has 10 megapixels there, so a little bit higher megapixel rate. We have also a nice background blur on the fine N3 Flip that it took, but you can clearly see, yes, my dog's, Timmy's face is not really completely in focus. The eyes are not in focus, just his nose is in focus basically, and the back eye not. Where the P50 Pocket also has a bit of background blur, but not so pronounced background blur as the fine N3 Flip. We can clearly see here the hair is already out of focus here, his fur, where here it is in focus. So it's a bit of a mess, where here the P50 Pocket did not do so much background blur, but kept everything sharp. The eyes are sharp, the nose is sharp. And yeah, I prefer, to be honest, the P50 Pocket in this shot, but probably when it comes to human subjects, we will see in a second, it might be the different way. Here we can both see like portrait mode with human subjects, also both using the 2x zoom here. And what we can clearly see is a bit more contrasty look on the P50 Pocket, cooler, warmer look on the fine N3 Flip. And when we zoom in, you can clearly see the fine N3 Flip is taking the advantage, is taking the lead here, definitely in terms of sharpness and details on my face. Also, I like a bit more warmed up look with the P50 Pocket. It's losing details there. It's just simply too soft for portrait shots. So forget about portrait shots with the P50 Pocket. However, what we find a bit bizarre is that this here is in focus, where here it is clearly out of focus. So I think the algorithm for what is in focus, what is not in focus is clearly working a little bit better on the P50 Pocket, where yeah, hair and details appears basically everything soft a little bit, but definitely here it is working a little bit better there on the P50 Pocket than on the fine N3 Flip. Nevertheless, I like the fine N3 Flip better for portraits. Main camera sensor, again, this is like, yes, sunshine came out, but only just really, literally, this is the only blue sky that I got, and afterwards it was directly raining again. Nevertheless, 14 versus 13 millimeters ultra wide angle here, with both quite interesting. And yeah, do we see much of a difference there in terms of detail? We have heavily sharpening up things on the N3 Flip. That looks a bit too unnatural in my opinion. It is also sharpened up on the P50 Pocket, but not to this degree, where I would say maybe it's like not, maybe it's the same kind of sharpening. Yeah, it's a bit softer, but it's just also the popping of the colors here on the N3 Flip is just a little bit overdone there, overkill, I would say. And yeah, otherwise, yeah, it appears to be a bit sharper there. Foreground and the background is also like sharper on the N3 Flip. But slightly I would give it to the P50 Pocket because of a wider angle of view, and I think it's a little bit more natural looking. And also towards the sides there, a little bit more raised shadows there. It's getting soft on both. There's a bit more punchy colors on the N3 Flip. And yeah, this is basically it in terms of cameras. So main camera sensor better on the N3 Flip, not by a huge margin, but it is better for sure. Ultra wide angle I think is better on the P50 Pocket. When it comes to portrait and zoom shots, then I think the Find N3 Flip with its dedicated zoom camera is definitely winning for sure. With the P50 Pockets, even if it has like this what is it, ultrasonic, no, it's I forgot already the technology that they're using, but even with this special extra lens that they have there, it is not really that good. Colors, however, I like a bit better on the P50 Pocket. Overall, I think in terms of cameras, the winner I would give for photos at least to the Find N3 Flip overall, because we have a little bit more flexibility with this 2x zoom for portraits especially, and the main camera sensor is a bit better. Just the ultra wide angle is losing against the P50 Pocket. What do you think? Write it down in the comments. Nighttime photos, what we can see is the ultra wide angle, again 14 versus 13 millimeter, much more contrasty look on the P50 Pocket, but warmer look on the Find N3 Flip, where we have much colder kind of floor, as you can see here, or ground, than on the Find N3 Flip. And when it comes to detail levels, yeah, both doing not so great in night time as expected because of the very tiny kind of sensors that we have there. However, we can clearly see that there's a much more noise on the P50 Pocket that leads to grain. Sometimes it looks like a little bit more detailed than the wishy-washy kind of Find N3 Flip, but the Find N3 Flip has like a much better algorithm to denoise basically. And also in terms of yeah, the greens here, I think that we see a little bit more details on the Find N3 Flip, but it's very, very negligible in this kind of situation. Just like at daylight, it's basically on par. Main camera sensor, very interesting, because here we have the opposite. As you can see, much more colder colors on the N3 Flip, where the P50 Pocket has much warmer kind of colors. I think the HDR, especially in those lights here, is handled better on the N3 Flip. Also, the sharpness and details are way better on the N3 Flip. So the N3 Flip, just like as in daylight, we have an advantage in terms of main camera sensor. The larger kind of sensor, the newer kind of sensor, is working towards a better click here. P50 Pocket versus N3 Flip at night with 2x zoom. I think the N3 Flip was using its dedicated 2x and not using its dedicated 2x zoom, because it's very, very soft. And here the P50 Pocket does not have a disadvantage, as you can see here, my dog Timmy. And we have like a little bit of warmer colors here again on the N3 Flip, where it's a bit colder on the P50 Pocket. Yes, it's just like yeah, a few centimeters apart, this shot, but still under the same light. So very interesting here. How do they handle light? And here HDR is very yeah, special. I think on first glance they look very, very similar, not much of a difference. On second glance you can see that we have a little bit of overexposure here on the N3 Flip that we don't have so much on the P50 Pocket, but the sharpness and detail level again on the N3 Flip, look at this is much better on the N3 Flip than on the P50 Pocket here. The clarity on those cars, their license plate, everything is just a bit better. It's a bit softer on the P50 Pocket. Also here, the lights a bit more overexposed on the N3 Flip, but the detail level is just simply a bit better. Look at the Toyota sign here. I think here in this case the N3 Flip handles this lighting a bit better, where here it's getting, like with the denoising algorithm, maybe a bit too soft. Overall, I think both do a fine job, but it is definitely visible that the N3 Flip has a better main camera sensor. And yeah, this is then the maximum, not the maximum, this is like the 6 times zoom on both. Both offer this as an option there, and you can clearly see how soft the P50 Pocket is, but how well it handled HDR. So the light sources here and this car, for example, which is like here completely overblown. So yes, the P50 Pocket sometimes has better HDR, especially when it comes to zoom levels, but it's very soft and yeah, suffers from the worst kind of sensor that we have there that's a bit older. So I really like to see what Huawei can do with a P60 or P70 Pocket that would probably work better than the N3 Flip, but this is just my opinion. Nevertheless, it's clear that the ultra wide angle is on par, the zoom lens is better on the N3 Flip, and of course the main camera sensor is better on the N3 Flip. You can clearly see it here at night time as well. Front-facing video, which one looks better on first glance? Yes, it's a bit darker, but I think the P50 Pocket is doing a better job there. When you go into full screen, what we can clearly see is that this suffers enormously from very softness kind of a picture there. Besides that, it is like mirrored for some reason. All over the place, the Find N3 Flip looks very, very soft, no matter where I jump into. And even if I stop it here, it's very, very soft. And when I move around, you can also clearly see, let's mute the audio, you can also clearly see that when I'm moving around, there's no stabilization at all on the inner front-facing camera of the N3 Flip, where the P50 Pocket has a little bit more details. As you can see, it's also soft and quite grainy, but also has, first of all, better stabilization in video mode, and then we have also a little bit like noise when I'm moving around and so on, and a bit of shakiness there as well, but it's never quite so soft as on the N3 Flip, and the stabilization is working tons better there because we have electronic image stabilization there. So I would give the front-facing video definitely to the P50 Pocket. Looking at the main camera, the larger sensor on the N3 Flip is clearly winning here. Not by a huge margin. On first glance, just it's brighter and you can see my face a little bit better, where the P50 Pocket is just too dark, and no matter which kind of part of the video I go, it's just simply too dark, too much shadows there. And it is quite soft, as you can see here on the Find N3 Flip. So yeah, that is never, my face is never really sharp in this regard, which is, I think, even though we have a nice background blur, so it should be here very sharp, but I think it's a denoising algorithm that makes everything a little bit softer here, where the P50 Pocket has my face sharper, but also very noisy, as you can see here. So it doesn't have this heavily denoising algorithm, so you can clearly see those kind of noise dancing around in my face. So if this would be a bit brighter, probably the P50 Pocket would have won in this regard, but I have to give it, like, for the brightness level, just simply to be a bit clearer here, to the N3 Flip because of its newer sensor. And then let's take a look at the ultra wide angle that we have there, and this is quite interesting because both have a weak ultra wide angle, but you can clearly see this is brighter on the N3 Flip, so it gets a little bit of points there, but look how soft it is towards the side everywhere and how it's dancing around with the stabilization. So it is not very good. But let's compare it to the P50 Pocket, and here you can see definitely too dark. Same kind of issues with softness all over the place. The stabilization seems to be a bit better, but sometimes you can clearly see it's going out of focus and in of focus. So yes, again, the P50 Pocket has, I think, better stabilization in this regard. And yeah, if it wouldn't have this focus issues and so on, it would be the P50 Pocket. But this is a clear win for the fine and free flip. Again, it looks like 2 different days here, but 2 different parts of the time there. But yeah, the N3 flip is winning there with its processing. And then we have zoom. Zoom, where you can clearly see it is not even utilizing its 2x zoom. I think it's just simply cropping into the main camera sensor, where we have the same kind of thing doing here on the P50 Pocket, and yeah, it's worse on the P50 Pocket, but it's not so far apart. You can see how grainy this is here and how much grainier it is there. So yeah, overall, I think in terms of video, especially in night mode or dim lit situations, the newer sensors on the fine and free flip are definitely winning against the P50 Pocket for that regard. When it comes to flexibility, however, I would give it to the P50 Pocket. Let's come to the conclusion. Here you can see TLDR, we have 3.97 points, so under 4 points, which is, I think, the lowest score I ever gave for a smartphone for the P50 Pocket, where the Find and Free Flip has a score of 4.02. So it's a bit higher than the Find and Free Flip, but they're very, very close together. You can see it with the main camera photo quality. It's a 4 versus 3.9. Yes, the main camera photo quality, especially in low light, is a bit better on the Find and Free Flip, but it's not by a huge margin. The only huge margin where you can see it being a bit better is in video recording quality there, but it's also not such a huge deal, I would say. Only visible really in low light. Ultra wide camera photo quality is on par, like I said. Zoom camera quality is better on the Find and Free Flip thanks to its dedicated 2x zoom lens. Otherwise, it is also not so far behind the P50 Pocket there with 3 points. Just lack the more zoomed in kind of possibilities, and the 2x zoom is definitely not the best there on the Find and Free Flip, especially as it's in low light, not even triggered most of the time, and you don't even notice that you have to go into pro mode to trigger it if you really want it. And yeah, video camera quality, I told you already, the Find and Free Flip has this dedicated kind of chip, I think, or dedicated algorithm that brightens everything up. I like it, but it makes everything a little bit smeary, which the other phones are a bit too dark and have, like the P50 Pocket has like lots of noise. So I would give it slightly to the N3 Flip, but it's like only for the nighttime. In daytime, you don't notice so much of a difference between those two. And sometimes I like the colors a bit better on the P50 Pocket. Autofocus is behaving exactly the same. There's a little issue with the P50 Pocket's ultra wide angle in dim lit or low light situations where it's hunting for focus, but I also had some focus hunting sometimes on the Find and Free Flip with the main camera even. So I call it even here. The same goes for the front cam. I think the Find and Free Flip has a good algorithm here. I think the P50 Pocket is also doing a good job when it comes to the front-facing camera. Not much of a difference. Camera UI, basically the same, also not much of a difference. Where we see a bit of a difference is extra features like Pro Mode that is available for the P50 Pocket. We only have a movie mode for the Find and Free Flip, but it's not the same as with the Pro Mode. Then P50 Pocket has some other features that are quite handy, like for example the possibility to use the outer screen to record 4K, which we cannot do with the Find and Free Flip, even though the P50 Pocket cannot do it if it's flipped. So if it's like closed, the Find and Free Flip has the same kind of limitation. But we have lots and lots of star trail options and lots and lots of tons of other options, like for example this spectrum analyzing, what is it called, spectrum light, fluorescent light that you can use, fluorescent light mode that you can use as well, also for videos. quite interesting. So we have tons of extra features there on the P50 Pocket. Nevertheless, the Find and Free Flip is the winner here clearly. And when we take a look at the ranking list, we have to scroll down a little bit at the ranking list because, like I said, we have the lowest score ever that I gave for a smartphone, under 4 points for the P50 Pocket. As you can see here, it's even under the Magic VS, which was the lowest before. Interestingly enough, the main camera sensor, even though the Magic VS has a larger sensor and a newer sensor, the P50 Pocket beats this sensor because of poor optimizations probably on the Magic VS for some reason. So yes, the P50 Pocket has a slightly better main camera for photos. When it comes to the ultra wide angle, however, it's slightly worse there. It's on the same level as the Find and Free Flip, as you can see here. So the Magic VS is a bit better there. And Magic VS, if you don't know, it's a foldable phone from Honor. When it comes to zoom, both cannot really win against the Magic VS. For example, Magic VS has 3.4 times because it has a 3 times dedicated zoom, and this it's not the best zoom. It's 8 megapixels, I think, only, but it gets you a little bit closer to objects. And of course, 3 times zoom is, I think, more ideal for portrait photography because, like with the newer main camera sensors, 2 times zoom, you can even get away with the normal kind of crop in of the main sensor. And when it comes to the, what is it here? Video recording quality, yes, the Magic VS is doing poorly, even worse than the P50 Pocket. And Find and Free Flip is definitely better there. And autofocus performance is the same. Camera UI, you can see the differences here. Basically, the Magic VS also has some, and it's a front cam actually. Front cam is a bit better on Find and Free Flip and P50 Pocket. And the rest, as you can see, camera UI is basically also the same. Magic VS is a little bit better there in the camera UI department, and also a little bit better in terms of extra features, like Pro Mode, for example, and some other features that we have there. So 4 points for the Magic VS, as you can see, and slightly better at 4.20 points. But it's not far away off the Xperia Pro I, even the Find and Free Flip, which is quite impressive. Find and Free Flip has 4.02. And we have 4.029999 on the Xperia Pro I, so it's very, very close together. What is so close? Like, first of all, the Xperia Pro I has a way better main camera sensor. This is it's the Sony RX100 sensor, so yes, it's definitely better. Also, the ultra wide angle is definitely also better. It's a bit narrower, but the quality is just simply better. Zoom camera quality on the Xperia Pro I is also, I think, only 2 times zoom, but it's a pretty good 2 times zoom. So this is why they're very, very close together, Find and Free Flip and the Xperia Pro I. I think the Xperia Pro I's ultra wide angle and the zoom lens are quite good, and maybe I have to correct it. Maybe at one point I will test them out against each other, Xperia Pro I's zoom lens against the Find and Free Flip, but they're very, very close together. Where the Xperia Pro I struggles a bit is video camera quality. It's not because of the main camera sensor, it's some limitations that we have that I'm not sure if we put it also here in here, because it's not the main camera quality. It's just we don't have the possibility to flexibly zoom to the ultra wide angle. We have to stop recording such things, and sometimes the consistency between those cameras, especially in video mode, is not there. So this is a huge issue where you have to just give it this. And the Find and Free Flip has better HDR for sure than the Xperia Pro I in SDR mode, where the Xperia Pro I shines, of course, as HDR, HLG mode, but for the simplicity here, it's 4.1. Maybe I have to change this again. I have to do some retests there again with Xperia Pro I and HDR, HLG, maybe in spring or summer next year when I have the possibility to do so, to refine the whole thing here. Otherwise, autofocus performance, yes, the Xperia Pro I is definitely better there. Front cam, we don't have to talk about it. It's worse on the Xperia Pro I 8 megapixel front camera. Camera UI is very good, and of course also the extra features like external microphone, micro SD card slot, lots and lots of camera applications and settings that you can set up, even like the microphone sensitivity and such things is just simply superior. Same goes for all the other things. But you can see that the Find and Free Flip with its 4 points can beat the Xperia 1 Mark IV's main camera sensor. It comes very close to the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, as you can see here, 4.2. It's not so far off there. So I think it's doing a good job. But it is somehow, yeah, a trend that we can see that flip and foldable phones are usually something that you find more down below here in my list. Even the best one that I rated here so far, the Mate X3, I think is the best foldable that I have here right now, is not so far off, like with 4.2 points against the Find and Free Flips, 2 points, 4.1, even also not so far off, as you can see here. So they're very, very close together there when it comes to this kind of thing there. Find and Free Flip is the winner here clearly, and has a good camera setup, but it cannot compete with normal slab phones, even like here Huawei P40 Pro Plus. Of course, this one has a best zoom, but even the main camera sensor is a bit better there on this one for sure. So this is my conclusion. What do you think about my ranking, and what do you think about those two phones? Write it down in the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.